What's up, crypto gang? Welcome back to another episode. If you guys are new here, we do a giveaway at the beginning of every single episode, and today's winner is Ala Belga. Thanks so much for commenting on the previous video. You mentioned that it was your first comment. Welcome to the community, and I just sent you some Ethereum. On this episode, I'm going to be going over what happened to the internet when it took off in the early 1990s all the way through to the bubble bursting in 2001. Now, you may be asking, why would I go through this long chronological order of how quickly websites came to be? I like to relate cryptocurrency a lot to the internet phenomenon that happened. I always like to talk about Metcalfes Law on the channel, and this basically says, similar to a fax machine, where if you have one fax machine, you're pretty lonely and it's not valuable. When you have two fax machines, it's much more value. When you have three, it's much more valuable. When you have four, it's much more valuable, and so on. Basically, a network becomes more valuable as more people join it. Very similarly to how the internet took off with wildfire in the mid-90s into the early 2000s. And obviously, right now, we are exploding with the internet still to this day, with 547,000 websites being created every day and 1.71 billion websites. The very first website was created in August of 1991. So in August of 1991, we had one website. In 1992, we 10x'd that into 10 websites. 1993, we sprung up to 130 websites on the internet. People started buzzing around a little bit because passing 100 websites was a pretty big deal. By January 1993, there was about 50 servers overall on the internet. People were starting to dabble around in it in a very small community. And by December, the end of 1993, there were over 500 websites. In 1994, there were 2,738 websites. In 1995, there were 23,500 websites. So you can start to see this pretty drastic incline here. Now, by 1996, a lot of publicly traded companies and just businesses in general realized that it was no longer really an option to not have a presence on this massive growing network. So very similar to previous technology booms with the railroads in the 1840s, automobiles in the early 20th century, radio in the 1920s, television in the 1940s, transistor electronics in the 1950s, computer time sharing in the 1960s, home computers and biotechnology in the 1980s. All of these little eras were rushes from entrepreneurs with that new development of technology. They saw an opportunity and started jumping into those spaces with these developments. Because by the end of 1996, it surpassed 100,000 websites online. Between 1996 and 1998, we saw explosive growth on the internet, and it grew from that 100,000 in 1996 to over 2.4 million websites in 1998. So over 2 years, it grew from 100,000 to 2.4 million. Now, this was the melting pot for something known as the .com era. And this was when interest rates moved lower, entrepreneurs came from all over the world and began to jump into creating these websites, because that growth from 1996 to 1998 with the mix of lower interest rates was an amazing opportunity for entrepreneurs everywhere. Because for the first time, it wasn't really geographically based. You could do it from anywhere. You could become a member of this network. You could create a website on your own, and you could participate in this massive network, reach a new scale of users quickly. And people just started turning the light bulbs on in their head and said, all right, I'm going to actually raise some money from venture capitalists. 1998 to 1999, VCs and investors were seeding startup companies like crazy to start these .coms, or www.pets.com, for example. In walks the wild card. As you could tell, the graph was growing pretty dramatically when you got from that 1998 to the 2000-ish mark, and now the time is 2000, or Y2K. And we have officially reached 17.1 million websites online. What you have to realize at this point, you have all of these investors that have been piling money in venture capitalists that have these funds that they're piling money into these startup companies to get them off the ground. And regardless of the idea, everyone just figured, all right, let's get some web property online. Let's get a presence on there because everyone else is on there. There's over 17 million of these things. It's growing hand over fist. We need to just raise a bunch of money and get online, get a presence, not really thinking too much about the business models versus the real world that was existing outside with brick and mortar business. Before we dive into the fun part, this video has been sponsored and brought to you guys by BITSONAR. I reached out to them just to see if they could support the channel, and I want to do a quick dive in to their platform and show you guys what it's all about.
All right, so BITSONAR is an international fund that effectively allows you to invest in a pool using their bot. Pavel Lerner actually is pioneering this space with BITSONAR, which is pretty exciting. I looked him up and he is a very, very well-known person. It's pretty straightforward. You go in, you deposit, you can see down here, my balance, 0.31 Ethereum, and that is $50. So it is effectively the lowest tier of the bot. And I'm going to go ahead and create a bot here and show you guys the process. Once you've clicked on it, it will create the free AI bot. You can deposit between 50 and 250, as I mentioned before. I'm going to select your currency. I'm going to select Ethereum. I have my balance here, and we're going to go ahead and put the entire thing in there. Let's go ahead and get it all the way over. The entire main balance is going to go into it. We're going to hit next. We're going to do free trial bot, currency pair. Let's go ahead and do BNB. Why not? Strategy. Let's go ahead and pick the one that I have heard of used before, the Bollinger Bands, candle size. All right, let's go ahead and start. And it says, are you sure? Yes. And there we go. Successfully created. That easy, 50 bucks invested in there. You can see that I have my trading pair with BNB. Reason I chose BNB Binance is just because it's been going the opposite direction as everything else right now. So it is invested in there, and we're going to check on the results here in a couple of days. But the fact that they have, this guy, Pavel Lerner, involved is a very, very reassuring concept to me around how this type of mechanism is going to work when you're creating bots based on different trading strategies. The last piece I want to cover is the statuses. When you go here and you find the different tiers that are provided, you can see there's tester, basic, advanced, investor, VIP, and partner. So when you have the educational materials available on the basic level, that's probably the next tier that I'm going to jump up to after I'm done running my trial, which is almost over. Trading on the Bollinger Bands is not something that I'm skilled at or not a professional at by any means. So it's exciting to see that this is coming out for the masses and they're allowing people to get in the different tiers and allow people to, get their educational materials. So once again, I wanted to say thank you to BITSONAR for sponsoring this video and supporting the channel. And the last piece here is the fact that you can automatically set up your trades. You can basically streamline the whole process, come back and check every single day, make sure everything's going all right. And overall, it is a positive experience when it comes to withdrawing. And we can jump right back into the video.
Thanks again to BITSONAR for sponsoring this video and supporting the channel, and everybody watching. Thanks again. Slap a like if you guys like this content. I'm going to be doing much more of this type of content in the near future. All the links will be in the description below. So let's get back into this timeline because now it's starting to get really juicy. When you had something like pets.com come out where the entire business model was, we're going to provide you with pet supplies, pet food, all of these, pieces of owning a pet online. And they didn't realize that they were, they did realize they were competing directly with the people in brick and mortar pet stores. And it just wasn't convenient to use the internet yet. It was not user friendly. It was just not the right time. Pets.com was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. They went public at $14 a share. And at the time of declaring bankruptcy, that was 19 cents per share. Needless to say, in 2001, this popped. Pets.com was the poster child. And basically, all these businesses were not profitable, and they had burned all of this cash that they raised from investors and venture capitalists. So it all just basically started crumbling down. But before I want to throw a negative light on this, trillions were lost in this situation with the websites crashing, with venture capital money being set on fire, and these business models not being profitable at all. There were some gems that rose from the ashes. There are companies that are still around today, all of them that you are probably familiar with, that existed pre-dot-com explosion or bubble, popping, and then after, all the way up till today. So, of course, the 800-pound gorilla is Amazon, started in 1994, public in 1997. Of course, there's eBay that started in 1995 and went public in 1998. Priceline that was founded in 1998 and went public in 1999. I still use Priceline today for my travel. Shutterfly that was started in 1999 and went public in 2006. And of course, you have the one and only Google, started in 1998. What's the rationale and why am I talking about all of these successful companies, the ones that were started at the rapid rate in which we reached these billions of websites now? The rationale behind this is just pure probability in relation to cryptocurrency and the current stage that we are at, because I see the relation between blockchain and cryptocurrency innovation at the early 90s stage of where the internet was. We're still seeing growth where people are adding all of these new wallets to the network. And what we're seeing is that a lot of these projects that came out in 2017 are really starting to shake out and feel the burn for not having a profitable business model. But this is not the only time this has happened to the cryptocurrency space, which is a very important thing to keep in mind when relating it to something like the .com. They are very different in that Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency space has accumulated a massive amount of wealth over the last 10 years, over $200 billion in market cap. And we have seen 3,028 cryptocurrencies and projects launch in the space. Now, we have those numbers that are today in the cryptocurrency space. And what are the numbers of websites? You may be asking. 1.71 billion websites exist today, and 200 million-ish are currently active and live on the internet. So what does that mean? That means that 99.94% of all websites that have ever been created are dead. They are not active online. They are completely dead. And 99.94% of the cryptocurrency market, in theory, could be looking at something similar in the next 10 years. Now, when we compare those two, it's a little bit of a scary number. When we look at 3,028 projects that are listed on CoinMarketCap, many more have launched, of course, because people are rushing into the space to really try and innovate and help with the adoption, bring more people into the networks of these different blockchains and these different projects. And it's important to know that when you are comparing these two, like I said, it wasn't a boom and rush out of the gate. And there was a lot of failed companies over the past 2 years. And 99.94% of 3,028 that are listed on CoinMarketCap leaves 2 projects that will prevail. Now, once again, blockchain as a technology can be applied to a million different things. Millions of different people are going to be using it over the next few years. Cryptocurrency is a fantastic way of applying technology using money and disrupting, financial institutions and whatnot. But blockchain is going to be used for things like contracts with Ethereum. You have identity. You have all sorts of different unique use cases with storage and a lot of really great things that are being innovated on what we call the Web 3.0 with blockchain. So the important numbers to remember are that 1.71 billion websites exist or have been created up till today, and 200 million-ish are active right now, which means 9.94% have been terminated, or they are just dead and not online. And when we talk about these types of figures, 547,000 websites are created every single day. And obviously they are not all staying online for a long period of time, like an Amazon or a Google. But you have to keep in mind that when people are coming into this space, they are going to pivot, they're going to change around, and things are going to change dramatically. So that is it for my chronological way of showing what happened in the internet adoption using Metcalfe's theory and law of how networks grow and how quickly they grow. And when you apply something like technology, it is just an exponential growth. So when we go from something in 2000 from 17.1 million websites all the way up to over 1.71 billion websites, we are looking at a drastic curve over 20 years. So a lot of exciting things on the horizon for cryptocurrency if we are in the early stages in relation to the internet. In the early 90s, where it's still not quite usable, not that many people can actually interact with it because they're not technical. They don't want to keep track of a long, encrypted address to send currency back and forth. It is not user-friendly yet. And we're looking at that moment, that Netscape moment, where it snaps with people, and we go from that 17.1 million websites all the way up to that 1.71 billion websites, but except we're looking at addresses now. We're looking at wallet addresses. So do you guys think in the comment section below that there is going to be a technology that comes out in the cryptocurrency space that launches us from something like 17.1 million websites to 1.7 billion websites, except with Bitcoin wallet addresses? Leave your comments below. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you guys like the new format, and I will see you guys on the next episode of Hack Crypto.